Welcome to World Wrap, your global snapshot for Thursday, May 15, 2025. Here's what's happening around the world. Trump finds success in Qatar. China pushes for stronger alliances in Latin America as US-China trade talks continue in Europe. And global scientific breakthroughs offer new hope from ancient fossils to modern medicine. We'll have these stories and more. In South Asia, tensions between India and Pakistan remain the dominant headline. Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is visiting Jammu and Kashmir today, his first trip to the region since India's Operation Sindoor missile strikes last week. The Director General of India's Border Security Force is also in Jammu today to review the situation on the international border. Search operations and an encounter between security forces and militants were reported in Pulwama. India's Ministry of Defense yesterday released details claiming its May 7th operation successfully jammed Pakistan's air defense systems and was completed in just 23 minutes. Meanwhile, reports emerged today that X accounts of China's Global Times and Turkey's TRT World were briefly withheld in India on May 14th due to concerns over content related to the India-Pakistan situation, but have since been restored. In Southeast Asia, the Secretary General of ASEAN, Dr. Kao Kim Hoorn, concluded a working visit to New Zealand yesterday, emphasizing the need for stronger ties with external partners like New Zealand to navigate global trade challenges and bolster regional cooperation. ASEAN is also looking ahead to the adoption of its ASEAN Vision 2045 at an upcoming summit. In regional business, investment in digital infrastructure is a key theme, with major cloud providers expanding data regions across Asia. Moving to East Asia, Japan and South Korea continue to focus on technological advancement and economic resilience. 5G networks are now fully deployed in both nations, supporting growth in AI applications and fintech. However, both countries are also navigating the complexities of global trade, including US-China tensions and the impact of an aging population on their economies. Tencent Cloud, in partnership with a Vector Group subsidiary, launched Avamo in Japan on May 13th. An AI-powered avatar video generation service tailored for the Japanese market, promising drastically reduced production times. Watch for any further developments or statements regarding the India-Pakistan border situation, and updates from ongoing ASEAN dialogues. In China, diplomacy and economic strategy are in focus. The fourth ministerial meeting of the China Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC Forum, continued in Beijing, with President Xi Jinping emphasizing China's readiness to join hands with Latin American nations to counter unilateralism and protectionism. This initiative aims to strengthen trade, which exceeded $500 billion with the region last year, and expand cooperation into new sectors like renewable energy, digital technology, and AI. Simultaneously, Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng is in Europe for high-level economic and trade talks, including meetings in Switzerland and France, and notably discussions with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trade Representative Jameson Greer in Geneva over the past weekend regarding the recent tariff escalations. Beijing is reportedly evaluating the U.S. outreach. Domestically, China continues to implement monetary easing measures to stimulate its economy amid weak consumer demand and the impact of the trade war. Across Africa, the 16th Africa Bank 4.0 Summit continues in Nairobi, Kenya, drawing financial leaders from across the continent to discuss innovation for a sustainable and inclusive banking ecosystem, with a strong focus on digital transformation and fintech. In South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa launched Phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela earlier this week, a government initiative aimed at accelerating structural economic reforms, particularly in energy and logistics. The President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, is in Tanzania today, continuing his state visit focused on discussions about the new global order and strengthening ties with African leaders. He is scheduled to participate in events revisiting the legacy of former Finnish President and Nobel Peace Laureate Martti Ahtisaari. In Australia, the government is closely watching global trade developments, particularly the United States-China tariff situation, which could impact its commodity exports. The Australian dollar has seen some recent strength partly due to optimism about these talks. In New Zealand, a debate continues around a government proposal to ban social media for under 16s, with concerns raised by senior doctors in Auckland about the potential negative impacts of outsourcing simple hospital operations to the private sector to cut public waiting lists, warning it could lead to a loss of specialists from the public system. The New Zealand government, along with Australia, is also navigating new tax treaty negotiations. Across the Pacific, island nations continue to focus on climate resilience and regional security, with preparations for upcoming Pacific Islands Forum meetings. Short transition sound. U.S. President Donald Trump is in Qatar today, continuing his three-nation Middle East tour. Yesterday in Doha, significant economic and defense deals were announced, with the White House stating agreements could generate an economic exchange worth at least $1.2 trillion. This includes a landmark $96 billion deal for Qatar Airways to purchase up to 210 Boeing aircraft. Trump also held talks with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani on regional security and mediation efforts. Today, President Trump is scheduled to address U.S. troops at Al Udeid Air Base before heading to the United Arab Emirates. In Germany, Chancellor Friedrich Merz's new government is beginning to implement its policy agenda. Recent diplomatic efforts included a visit to Poland to reset bilateral relations. The United Kingdom's economic outlook is being shaped by the Bank of England's recent interest rate cut, with new inflation and labor market data keenly awaited. Across the European Union, institutions commemorated the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe on May 7, and continue to develop strategies for energy independence from Russia and responses to global trade challenges. The EU is also reportedly preparing a 17th sanctions package against Russia. In Russia, President Putin concluded a summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping last weekend, emphasizing a strengthened strategic partnership. Russian military operations continue in Ukraine, with both sides reporting intense engagements and ongoing drone and missile attacks. Across Latin America, the China CELAC Forum in Beijing this week signals deepening ties between China and the region, focusing on trade, investment, and technological cooperation. In Brazil, the nation is celebrating its selection as the host for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. The country's Supreme Court is also continuing its examination of charges against individuals allegedly involved in a coup plot under former President Bolsonaro. Argentina's government under President Milei is pushing forward with significant economic austerity measures and reforms aimed at tackling hyperinflation, a process closely watched by international markets and resulting in some initial signs of lowered sovereign risk. Mexico's state oil company Pemex is reportedly looking to re-enter capital markets following upcoming elections. Countries like Chile and Colombia continue to manage their economies amidst global commodity price shifts and domestic policy debates. In cultural news, the Doha International Book Fair is currently underway in Qatar. On the tech front, a fascinating scientific discovery reported this week from Australia indicates that fossil tracks show reptiles may have appeared on Earth up to 40 million years earlier than previously thought. Another study mapped the genome of the near-extinct northern white rhino, offering potential hope for reviving the species. In sports, the Indian Premier League, or IPL, is reportedly facing challenges with the availability of some overseas players due to the recent India-Pakistan tensions and revised international cricket schedules. That's World Wrap for Thursday, May 15, 2025. Like and follow us for more daily updates from around the globe. See you tomorrow. Outro music fades out.